Shane Gillis on the Adam Carolla Show.
Here he is, Shane Gillis. Good to see you, my friend.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Great job on the special. Congratulations. By the way, Shane Gillis live in Austin, and it's available now for free on YouTube. And you can subscribe to his channel, Gilly and Keeves. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
I know your story, obviously. Many people do. We've gone over it a little bit toward the beginning of the show. I think we all like the kind of redemption part of these stories, but I'm also I have some parallels with your story, which is I just got to go do it for myself now. I don't think there's going to be any more relying on HBO or Netflix or Comedy Central, or it's just going to be just go out and hang your own shingle and do it yourself.
Yeah, certainly.
Which I do think is a blessing, kind of big picture. It's just the beginning part sucks.
Definitely. And it's funny talking to like other comics and stuff that like they view it as like a death sentence because the only thing they can imagine is like the industry.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then they're like, oh, you're gonna have to do it on your own now. And it's like, yeah, I kind of had a feeling I was gonna have to.
Well, it's funny. I oftentimes think about these conversations I have with a lot of the kids who work here who aren't kids anymore and should stop fucking acting like, no. But I would say to them, I remember Chris, I probably had this conversation with you, maybe Matt, whatever, Gary. I had conversations like 6-7 years ago where I was like, I got to get my phone installed, the house line installed. And they'd go, why? And I'd go, what do you mean, why? Because I live in a house, you idiot. I need a phone. Why don't you just use your cell phone? Because this is a house phone. I'm in the house.
Yeah, I need it.
And I need it. And they'd go, you don't need it. Just use your phone. And I'd go, yeah, but this is my cell phone. This is my house phone.
Yeah.
I'm going to meet the guy who's going to install the phone. He's going to pull the line in from the power pole. And I'm like, I realize, I think about that all the time. It wasn't that long ago. These guys were making fun of me for putting a hardwired phone in my house.
Sure.
And I was telling them they were crazy. But the only excuse I could offer was, this is how we always did it.
Yeah.
That's all I had. And I feel the same way about comedy. It's like HBO, Netflix, Showtime, whatever. And you go, well, you want to be in that because that's the way everyone did it. But
Definitely.
Not anymore.
Yeah. I still want that landline though. I'd still love a landline. The next one. Hopefully the next one's a landline.
Well, that's the question. Did you take this special, which I think has over 1 million views on YouTube?
It's getting there, yeah.
And did you take it out and shop it around, or did you kind of figure it out?
It was funny because my managers and agents, they were like, let's shop it. And I was like, no. Like, that's... Wait, and then what? Like, wait a week for them to all say no? Like,
right.
Let's just put it out. No one's going to take it.
And no one's going to take it because of the SNL dust-up?
Yeah, the SNL dust-up, what I talk about, and who I am, in my opinion, if I had to guess.
Right. So I'm in this boat, too. There's what you know about you.
Yeah.
But then what people know about you.
Sure.
And there's this chasm between those two thoughts sometimes. And it's kind of hard to talk people out of what people know about you. And the reason it's hard to talk people out of it is because it's not really true. And it's harder to talk people out of stuff that's not true.
Definitely. And it's hard to, and then the second you start defending yourself for something that's not true,
yeah,
it gives it validation.
So what do you think the people at Netflix think they know about you?
I think, if I had to guess, I think there's a bunch of people at Netflix that have seen me and think I'm very funny. And if I had to guess, there's probably 5 people there that are kind of holding everyone hostage as to what type of content they make and who they select and all that. I think that's kind of the industry standard.
So it's basically like what vegetarians do to us.
Yeah, exactly.
We go, anyone who's ever done a production, TV show, movie, whatever, there's 80 people on the set. 3 of them are vegetarians. But we must get 50 beef steak subs and 50 veggie subs, right? Because the fucking 3 are controlling the other 77 people that are on that set. And it's kind of that way artistically. I mean, the zeitgeist is that way. Black Lives Matter, the times we're in, Netflix. It's a handful of woke assholes sort of deciding which way the wind is blowing for the company.
Definitely. And it also, you don't want to come off like a sore loser or like a they're not picking me because of this type thing. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like I'm not afraid, but like I'm very conscious of vocalizing like the reason they're not picking me is because of this. Because that's an excuse a lot of very bad comedians can make.
Yeah, because you have people go, hey, dude, make a funnier special next time.
Yeah, that's it.
Or write a better book or make a better independent rom-com.
Certainly.
Or documentary or whatever.
Yeah.
Just make a better one. And it's hard to argue because it's invisible.
Exactly.
And it's also sort of in the ear of the beholder. So for you, why don't we step back a little bit and start with your upbringing and then figure out, we'll go through SNL and we'll get to here and we'll sail past where we're at now.
All right. I'm from Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Grew up nice, middle-class, suburban family, Catholic, played sports. Everything's good. Went to Army, went to West Point for football. Quit right away.
Right. Why right away?
It was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I cried.
Really?
Yeah, I cried at boot camp and went home.
Football and Army are essentially the same thing. It's just
it turns out
screaming at you.
It turns out football is way harder than boot camp.
And football's brutal.
Division I college football sucks.
I played a lot of football. People have no idea how brutal it is. And by the way, it's never the games. It's the practice. It's only practice.
And then at the college level, you practice like 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. every day. It's just meetings, lifting, film, training room, film.
Right.
I mean, it sucks, especially when you suck, and I sucked.
Well, you had to be good enough to get recruited to play there, right?
Yeah, I was good in high school because I was big.
Yeah,
and then the work ethic part came in, and I faltered.
The other part about football that nobody understands is when you play O-line like you play offensive tackle, and many other positions, you don't even touch a football. You don't see a football. You do nothing that has to do with football.
It's a totally different sport.
I never thought about this. I played 11 years of football. Okay. When you are...
What position did you play?
I played a defensive linebacker or offensive guard.
Okay.
When you are playing football for fun, you are either quarterback or wide receiver, defensive back, you're throwing the ball, you're catching the ball, you're pitching the ball. That's what you do when you're playing for fun.
Yeah.
You're never just blocking the entire time. If they said, hey, we're going to the beach, Shane, we're playing football, you're going to be blocking the entire fucking... No, you're not touching the football, and you're not going out on a pass, you're not running, you're not passing, you're not doing
tackling.
Anything. You're not even tackling. You just block. You just go, fuck this. It's the least fun thing I've ever participated in. Well, that's what football... That's about 80% of football.
Yeah. It's funny because, I have friends that played, they played wide out and quarterback and all that. I literally played a different sport. Offensive line is a different sport.
Offensive line is the most thankless, boring, the most miniature concussions you're going to get with boredom sprinkled in ever, with zero praise and almost no dick sucking from cheerleaders.
Yeah.
That's how I was. I played offensive line. I was like, ugh. But then I played defense. I was like, oh,
that's
now
fun.
It's fucking
That's
awesome.
fun.
This is awesome. And then I'd go back to offense again, and it was bored off my ass.
Yeah.
So you go to West Point.
Yeah, West Point. I quit, transferred to Elon. It's in North Carolina.
But you were recruited to go to West Point?
I was.
All right. Well, that's good.
I was good. I was good at football.
Right.
And then, I played one season of college football and then quit again.
After leaving West Point?
Yeah, left West Point. I mean, literally 3 weeks.
Why West Point?
They played like Notre Dame and Army Navy and at Texas A&M. There were so many as far as getting recruited, I was getting recruited by Eastern Michigan, Temple, and Army.
Mm-hmm.
Army was that was cool.
So you went there, you flamed out.
Yeah.
You transferred.
Not even flamed out. I mean, we're talking. Didn't even light the match.
Really?
Just showed
no
up.
Pilot, nothing.
Just showed up, and I was like, all right, I'm going to head out.
Yeah.
And then I went to Elon in North Carolina. It's 1AA. You remember when App State beat Michigan? Appalachian State?
Yeah, I did.
We were in the conference with them, and we played them that year. Like, that was the conference. It was like Georgia Southern, Furman.
So you went to a place that you felt you could fit in a little, wasn't quite as regimented?
Yeah, for sure. But the football was just as good.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the hardest part, was physically getting your ass kicked every day.
Yeah. But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of growth in there too. And as monotonous and thankless and boring as O-line is, it's a kind of good lesson in that you got to sacrifice and give yourself up and do your job so that somebody else can carry the ball across the goal line and be mobbed by the adoring teammates and fans, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Sort of the opposite of stand-up.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Definitely the opposite.
It's
like being a writer.
Yeah, versus being
comedy.
up on stage.
Yeah.
So you do a year there, and then what?
And I quit football, and after that, I just stopped going to like school, stopped going to class, whatever. Get home. I graduated from Westchester, outside of Philly. Sold cars when I got home, and then started doing stand-up. So then I moved to Philly. I lived in Philly for like 6 years, doing stand-up. And then when I was 30, so like 2-3 years ago, I moved to New York. And then within a year, I got the SNL thing.
Was stand-up always something, or at least comedy always something that was sort of rattling around in your head?
Yeah, absolutely.
But you didn't come from a background that fostered that?
Everybody was funny. My family's very funny.
Mm-hmm.
Very like dark humor, for sure.
And were they funny?
Yeah.
But did they think you were funny?
Yes.
Well, that's good.
I think so. I don't know. No, I think they thought I was annoying.
But were you making them laugh?
I was the youngest, yeah.
So family's funny. Family has a problem with alcohol.
Yeah.
And the funny and alcohol are good to a point. And then at a certain point, you drop off.
Then it gets mean.
Then it gets mean at a certain point.
Eventually, it's a fight.
On the way up the hill, it's funny. On the way down the other side, it can get mean.
Well, you keep digging until you hit like the worst thing you can possibly say.
Right.
While you're drinking, you're like, I'll say this.
Right.
You keep pulling it off, and then finally you're like, yeah, your wife's a whore.
Right.
It's like, oh, we got to fight.
So now you're selling cars.
Sure.
You're living in Philly, selling cars the stand-up. Does somebody say, you got to go do this? I mean, there's two types of stand-ups I interview. There are the people whose friends at work sign them up for the competition. That's validating because these are just dudes you work with.
Yeah.
Then there's people who no one says they're funny, but they do it anyway. And then there's the people where it's sort of in between. Their friends, their family think they're funny.
I think I was a little in between. There was a guy in Mechanicsburg that was doing an open mic. One of my coworkers was going to do an open mic, and somebody was like, hey, do you want to go watch him do stand-up? And I was like, oh, shit. I had no idea how to even get into stand-up comedy. Like, there's zero comedy in Mechanicsburg. And so then I went and watched him do stand-up, and I was like, oh, I can do this. You know, it was one of those feelings. Like, I was at an open mic at the Harrisburg Comedy Zone, and I was like, I'm just as good as these people. And so, like, a month later, I tried it, and I was not. I was very, very bad. But, you know, I liked it.
Yeah, it kept going.
Yeah.
And
that was it.
And then what was the move to New York?
So there's New York comics like Dan Soder and Big J. Okerson. They were like coming through Philly. I would feature for them when they were at Helium in Philly. And so they started taking me on the road. And I felt like I was good enough to make the jump to New York. Mm-hmm. And that was it.
I know the SNL story.
Sure.
Many people do, but I don't know. There's some interesting facets to it.
Certainly.
Was SNL, now a lot of people grow up with the dream of SNL.
Mm-hmm.
They just watched every episode and that's the end all be all.
Yeah.
But that wasn't you.
No.
And you're more of a stand-up than a sketch person, although you do some really funny sketch stuff we can get into as well. But so for you, how does SNL come about when you're not pursuing it?
They had just seen me at Just for Laughs, Montreal.
The festival.
There was a comedy festival. I did New Faces. So that's, for the listener, that's just like up-and-coming comedians. They have a showcase for new comics. And I guess there were people from SNL that were at the showcase, and they were like, he was funny. So they contacted my agents, and they asked me to do like a writing packet. And I didn't do it. I was like, I don't want to be a writer, and I'm probably not going to ever work for SNL. And then they were like, all right, that's fine. He didn't do the writer's packet. We want him to audition. And so I was a little like, I don't know. But then they were like, he doesn't have to do the preliminary audition. He can just come in and audition on the main stage. Just straight to the main stage audition. And I was like, all right, yes, I'll do that. And
It seems
yeah.
So it seems interesting that they were just watching you do stand-up. Did you do any impressions in that stand-up?
No, I don't think so.
So they just liked your ideas.
Yeah.
I mean, the way you thought.
Yes.
And yet it's not a format for stand-up, but they saw something and they thought maybe we can.
Yeah, I think they might have. I think they saw that I would be good at the desk for like daily weekend update and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was like where they were probably going to place me.
Does that mean doing the news, or does that mean sliding in on a chair?
I think initially it means sliding in
Mm-hmm.
and doing basically stand-up, which is what that is to some
Right.
extent. And then I think it maybe, I don't know. It's tough to say I'd host weekend update, but yeah.
So you go do the
For a guy who
tryout.
I was never on the show. I was like, yeah, I'd probably be hosting.
So you go try out and walk us through that process.
So what they do, did you ever?
No.
They put you in like, there's probably like 15, 20 people auditioning. I don't even know. They put you all in green rooms, all like the cast's green rooms and all that. So you're in 30 Rock, and then they make you wait. They make you wait like 3 hours. You just sit there. Because I guess it's like a tactic to make you like nervous or like see how you handle pressure or whatever. But the whole time I genuinely was like, I'm never going to get this. I don't care. So I was very calm.
And
then,
you were going to do stand-up for your
I was just going
audition,
to do
right?
5 minutes of stand-up.
Was it stand-up you knew like the back of your hand, or did you shape it a little for
changed
this?
it. I remember changing it right at the last second, and I forget how I changed it. I think my one friend Reggie was like, "You should do an impression."
Mm-hmm.
I might have done one. Yeah. Anyway, so I didn't care at all. And then when you walk out to do the audition, you see the stage, then it hits you, and then you're like, "Oh fuck, I do care." You start
Right.
like I was.
Because you're on the actual SNL stage.
So nervous. Yeah, you're on the stage where they do the opening monologue and the band is behind
Right.
you. And then like Lorne Michaels is just sitting there and the whole studio's empty. There's just a camera 5 feet in front of you. It was probably the most nervous I've ever been.
I have had to do plenty of that kind of stuff in terms of, I don't know, some big award show, and the day before, the afternoon of, you go out and there's some big arena or some big venue, and there's nobody there, and you just have to go through your monologue, and it's the worst.
Yeah.
Always far more nervous out there with a couple of the director and the chick with the headset on and the stage hands and all that, just doing it to an empty place. I'd say any comedian would much rather have that place filled than just a few people sitting on folding chairs. And it's counterintuitive to some people, because some people go, oh, well, there's only a few people in there. But to a comedian, that's hell.
Yeah, it's the worst. It's embarrassing. It makes it embarrassing. Like if you're doing stand-up for no one, it's very embarrassing.
Yes, you're in a club, there's a context, and if you're alone on a bus, you seem insane.
Yeah.
So you start off, and you remember how it went?
I don't. I genuinely don't, but I do remember getting laughs, which they said wouldn't happen. They were like, Lorne and the writers and all them won't laugh. So just pretend they're not there and go. But yeah, once I started, I got some laughs right away, and I was like, oh, nice. And then just kept, that was it. Got done. You walk straight out. You don't say anything to anybody. And I thought I sucked because I was nervous. Like my hand was shaking with the mic. So I was like, this is bad.
Yeah, right.
And then I ran into Michael Che that night after, and he was like, no, that was really good.
At a club or?
Yeah, at a show. And he was like, no, that was actually really good. And I was like, I thought I was, my fucking hand was shaking. I was nervous. And he was like, you were the most calm one.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, fuck. And it just went from there. Like, where it was the whole time, I was like, all right, this has got to end. This isn't going to work. And then it just kept being like, no, you're our favorite. No, you got it. Now you're on the cast. Now
In the course of how many days?
2 weeks. It went from like literally 0 to on the show in like 2 weeks.
Says this would
To
be
getting canceled in like 4 days. Like
it'd be like you're driving a forklift in Philly, and then you're banging Sandra Bullock.
Yeah.
Like 10 days later,
And then Sandra Bullock accuses you of
living in Malibu. She accuses you of date rape.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh.
And then you're just back on the forklift. Like,
That's
what
right.
the fuck just happened? Yeah, that was
Well,
it.
you got a
for
good
real.
story for the other guys in the warehouse because they probably never banged Sandra Bullock. But it was literally that. Like you were a comedian, you were working and stuff like that. But somehow, pow, you're on SNL. You're not dreaming of it or signing up to work out on SNL. Right?
Yeah.
So within 2 weeks, they announce you as a cast member.
Yeah.
And walk us through that, if you could, please.
They actually Lorne called to be like, because after the audition, they bring you in to like meet everybody and talk to everybody. And I met with Lorne, and he was like, I'm going to use you. I'm just not sure if it's going to be a writer or as a featured cast member. So he thought maybe he would bring me on as a writer to kind of like learn how the show worked.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was what he told me he was debating. And then one day he called me and was like, all right, you're going to go straight to cast. And then the next day they're announcing it. So they had 24 hours to like vet me and figure out what I've done and said. And I don't think they were used to ever checking for podcasts.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm certain they weren't. Nobody checked.
They're looking for tweets.
They're looking for tweets,
and
Facebook, and Instagram. Because everybody they put on their show is like a improv person, not necessarily a stand-up or somebody that has a podcast. And how what are they going to listen to 1,000 hours of a podcast?
Right.
So yeah, they announced that I'm on the show. It was very cool for about 4 hours. Everybody I'd ever known and like gone to school with, or everybody just reaching out like, holy shit, this is crazy. You're on SNL. And then I was like, no, I'm going to go do stand-up. I went to the Stand in New York. And while I was on the train, my agent, this is like 4 hours after they announced it, my agent texted and was like, did you say, and it was a slur. And I was like, no, I wouldn't say that.
Right.
And then she was like, here's an audio clip of you, or here's a video of you saying it. And I was like, looks like I said it. Yeah. Because right when she said it, I was like, no, I'm not really.
Yeah, if anyone ever hears me say that doesn't sound like something I would, that definitely means I said it.
Yeah. And it was funny because I was on the train, so I was going like in and out of service while getting canceled.
Oh,
So I was like trying to update my phone, and my agent would be like, "You need to call. You're fucked." Like,
God, you wonder, like, does that shave months or years off your life?
Bro, that was, that killed me.
Did you have to go out and perform stand-up that night?
I didn't have to, but yeah, I did. Yeah,
No, but it means like you got the info. Like we all know, if you perform enough, there'll be some disturbing news at some point before you walk out on stage. If you hang around long enough and say enough and have enough kids and whatever else, something will hit you. It's got to be tough going out there with that so fresh on your mind.
Well, everybody knew. The whole crowd knew.
Oh, the whole crowd.
Everyone knew. Yeah, it was like #1 on Twitter.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
And then when I walked in, everyone was like, holy shit, there's that guy who's getting fucking crucified.
So, first off, do you ever really know who is leading the campaign? Like, is it is it Mothers Against Drunk Drivers? Is it the Asian Americans
No,
for
this is
civil
white.
liberties?
This was white people.
It's always white people.
This was white people crying.
Yeah, and is the agenda just to get you canceled? And is it a group, or is it just a bunch of sort of scattered individual Karens all over the world?
I think it's I think it's like it's kind of like the network thing we were talking about, or the vegans.
Right.
It's like there's like 100 people on Twitter that enjoy this shit.
Right.
And they've built a career type thing around this canceled type thing or being outraged or however, yeah, I don't think no one cares.
I look
genuinely, no one cares every single time.
When I used to do radio a million years ago, like you get called into the program director's office and they had 3 letters from the Christian community or whatever, and they were very upset that you said tits or whatever it is. And I'm like, that's 3 people, and then there's 3 million people that laugh their ass off. So why aren't we taking their feelings into account? The people that want to be entertained. You know what I mean? Why are we so dismissive of their feelings? If this person could host this show or be a cast member or do a radio show or something, and they're bringing a lot of joy, maybe thought-provoking, who knows what else to those people, why do they collectively with 3 million people have 0 vote in this, and the fucking 8 born-agains are steering the ship?
Yeah. I don't know. That's the question.
The other thing that I found interesting is if you hang around long enough, my whole early career, if there was a problem in the network and the program director, you got to go down to his office, something he said, it was always a religious nut job.
Yeah.
It was always religious based. It was right. It was the religious right that didn't like your language, whatever. If you get called out now, it has nothing to do with the religious right.
No.
It's the fucking lunatic left who never stops talking about McCarthyism.
Yeah.
Except for they're fucking applying it every day of their life to you and your career.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that if you tapped me on the shoulder in 1999 and said, there's a letter, somebody's pissed, you said, I'd go religious nut job. You do it today, I go fucking atheist nut job.
Yeah.
Same nut jobs.
100%. Yeah. I see, but that's the thing. Like I started doing like stand up very like actually seriously in like 2015 or 6. Like, so I've only been around when it's the left.
Right.
You know, I've never been a part of it when the right wing were the.
Well, the beauty of the left is when it was the right, they never fucking stopped belly aching about it. They never stopped complaining about it. They were stuck pigs with the religious nut job right, controlling what they could do or what they could say. And by the way, the religious nut job right wrote letters and tried to get like boycott stuff. They weren't nearly as effective. These people are fucking neutron bombs compared to their fucking muskets that the religious right had. The religious right would write letters, and people would sort of generally ignore it and kind of get on with their life. They weren't getting people canceled left and right. They weren't pulling everyone away from their livelihoods. The left has figured this shit out. Not sure why I think the difference is gratifying.
Like, I would not be worried about someone being like, you're a sinner. But yeah, all right. But if someone's like, hey, you're a racist,
you're done.
Now it's like, yo, chill.
Well, you can be a sinner and go to work.
Yeah.
You can't be a racist and show up on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So this stuff's blowing up like in real time. You go out on stage. Now, because of technology, everyone's got a phone, and they're like, that guy is in front of us now.
There was some like news reporters recorded the set.
Really?
Posted it. Like the text. Like the New York Post or Times or, and it was crazy.
Right. And so what happens, how's the ride home on the
ride
train?
Home, yeah. I mean, I took the train home from getting canceled. So like everyone else that's been canceled is like famous and rich.
He took the C train.
I had to switch trains. And there was several times where I'd be on the train and somebody would be like looking at their phone like, looking at me like, oh shit, that's you. That's you. You're the guy who's trending number one.
It's a very good point, which is, Paula Deen made her bones and then got canceled.
Yeah, when she got canceled, or if you're rich, you get canceled, you're like, all right, I'll take a vacation for a month. I'll go to Jamaica.
Yeah, most people put together 20. They put together 20. Paula
probably avoided Jamaica.
I'll go to parts of South Africa.
Yeah, she'll go to Scandinavia.
So, yes, you sell 1 million copies of a cookbook and God knows and what else, whatever your line of clothing is, and then you get canceled. But you basically got canceled on the launching pad.
Yeah. Real challenger.
Yeah, really. You didn't even go. You didn't get up as high as the Challenger. I mean, as it pertains to SNL, you went on the pad.
Yeah.
So
they were like, yeah, here's a rocket we're thinking about. It just explodes in the warehouse.
So you know this is all going on, but you still have to be thinking about the news cycle.
Yeah.
Because if there's another 9/11 the next day,
I'm off the hook.
you're off.
I know. I was praying for that.
It's something. Yeah, or some, senator goes on a shooting spree, or, OJ goes on a slow speed chase or whatever. It's pretty random.
Yeah.
If something can capture the zeitgeist.
Mine was Epstein.
Oh, it was Epstein.
And I think I was the thing that covered up Epstein.
Oh, really?
I think I might have been.
I
think it was a CIA.
You were like getting more clicks than Epstein was.
No, I couldn't have been, but it was around that time, I believe.
So you're hoping you're going to wake up the next day and they've turned the page and moved on.
Yeah, that's funny. I forgot about that. Yes, every night you'd go to sleep like, hopefully it's done.
Right.
Because you have all these well-wishers. Like, you have, like, managers and agents, and, like, even SNL was like, hopefully that was it. Hopefully that's the end of it. And then you'd wake up the next day, and it'd be like, oh, fuck.
How many days did it go on?
I think it was either 4 or 5.
And
I'm just like,
how far are you from the beginning of SNL? The season?
Oh, like 2 weeks. The season starts in like 2 weeks.
Right.
So, like, yeah, it was getting close to, like, me having to come in and start working.
But you haven't heard anything thus far?
I mean, I was going into, like, 30 Rock and, like, Lorne's and, like, sitting down, and all of them. It was funny. They were all, like, the whole time they were the ones that were like, we're going to be all right. And I was like, no, we're not. Like, if they're getting me on this, we're in trouble.
Right.
There's more.
There's more.
If they say no to this, we're still.
And again, they is randos with computers and phones spread out all over the country. Never really there's no organization that, it's not the Southern Poverty Law Center that puts their stamp on it or anything like that. It's just randos everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so at some point, SNL's got to lower the hammer, right?
Yeah. And I got it. I understood. I wasn't like, this is outrageous.
Right.
Yeah.
Did they call you? Did they call you
They
in?
did. Yeah. No, they just called me on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I still talk to Lorne, like, these days, occasionally. He's like, he's a good,
he's just like, my hands are tied?
I believe I think it was new to him. I think this culture was new to him.
Oh, right.
Because up until this point, he's always been like, we're going to be fine. Don't worry about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, no matter what happened, he'd be like, don't worry, we're going to be fine. And then I think this was the first time in, like, his career that now it's the internet,
Right. So because
I think he was a little like.
Well, he's been at the helm for 40 years at this point, or 37 years, or whatever more.
The whole thing.
He's been like 45 years at the helm at this point. So he's like me with the landline going, come on.
Yeah. He's like, no, this is going to work.
You kids are nuts. When the shit goes down, you're going to be dying to get to my phone, which is bolted to the wall in the kitchen. And so he's probably experiencing it almost like you are, in the sense that, like, what? No, come on. I mean, we can do this or whatever. And he's getting schooled up by today's technology.
Yeah, it was very interesting. There was one part. Are we allowed to use any type of language on this?
Any type.
All right. So there was one part. It was me and, this is a funny story. It's me and Lorne, and we're in an office, and we're going over, like, if we can just get you to fucking week 1, we're going to get out of this thing. Once everybody sees who you are, we're going to be fine. And then while we're in this meeting, he looks at his phone. He's like, oh, no. I was like, oh, fuck, what? And I'm not going to say the name of the person, but he was like, did you call a faggot? And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, probably.
Doesn't sound like me.
Yeah, doesn't sound like something I would say. But I was like, oh, fuck, we're done. That has to be it. And he was like, no, it's fine. What were we saying? Like, he literally was just like, no, you fucked up. That's fine. We're going to get through it. But I was like, no, that's over. If they have me on record saying that.
Yeah.
You know.
It's always so weird because you used to feel like as a comedian, you had some grace or some leeway or something, some room to maneuver that you wouldn't be looked at like a school teacher.
Like I was being serious.
Or like you're being, yes, because you're a comedian. That's traditionally, it's interesting to me. And to me, it's not really the people that are calling you out. It's all the fucking pussies that go along with it.
Yeah.
And I've talked to a lot of these people, and what these people do, because I've seen it so much, it's their fault. Because we're really, like, again, we're talking about the 3 vegans on the set who wants to get the veggie subs that no one fucking wants. It's not really their fault. They just want their veggie sub.
Agreed.
The person that's taking the order goes, I'm not going to get a fucking tray of veggie subs. You guys are vegetarians. Bring your own fucking sandwiches.
Yeah.
That's what people here are meat eaters. We're going to do that. Or, I'll tell you what, I'll get a turkey roast, pull the turkey off, and just fucking eat it.
Yeah.
But they don't do that. They go, well, I'm sorry. What do you need? What do you need? It's their fault. And it's the problem. Like, the people I talk to, and then I'll go, God, can you believe they fucking canceled that guy for saying whatever? And he's a comedian or whatever. And they'll go, yeah, I don't agree with that, but he shouldn't have said it. And you go, wait a minute. You do agree with it? You don't agree with it? What do you agree with? It's like, oh, yeah, rounding up the Jews and putting them in concentration camps. I disagree with that, but they were Jewish.
They were being jerks.
Yeah, like, you should vehemently disagree with it. And if there was a groundswell of that, this shit would go away tomorrow. But there's so many people going, well, I know he's a comedian, and I know he's supposed to be able to say what he wants, but he should have known, or he had to have known, or he could have known. It's like, do you want comedians up there thinking 10 syllables in front of everything they say? Yeah. Because I should have known how people were going to take this.
Yeah, especially, in my particular case, it's like when you're doing a podcast for 500 people in Philadelphia, and that's it. You're an open micer. Like, I wasn't worried about SNL at the time.
Well,
that's
interesting.
It's like, here's one thing I struggle with, because I agree with you entirely when it comes to like because there's a part of me that always wants to be like, I don't want to defend myself too hard. You know what I mean? I don't want to be the guy that's outspoken against cancel culture.
No, we're circling back to your stand-up special. Like, well, Netflix passed. Well, that's because they didn't like what I said.
Exactly. I don't want to be that guy.
Yes,
I just want to do comedy. So, like, I've definitely been on camera being like, well, yeah, I mean, look, I get why they fired me, and I do understand why they fired me. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get it.
I understand why I was fired. If you want to argue about changing the entire culture, yes, I agree with that. But I understood. I know the context that I'm in. I was drinking vodka earlier. Am I making sense?
No, you are. You smell like you're making sense.
Sorry. I did fucking Bert Kreischer's.
Oh, we got to drink with Bert.
Yeah.
Look, of course, I think we can, in a way, Lorne Michaels and SNL, in a way, they're victims too, because they wanted you to be on, they chose you, they sought you out, but because of the way the winds are blowing, and because they're a corporation, they have stock shareholders and things like that, they can't. So in a weird way, you should feel sorry for Lorne Michaels in a sense, because he got victimized by the Karens as well. He didn't want any of this. He wanted you.
Yeah.
And who knows? You could have been the best cast member ever. Probably not. But you could have been. All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with Shane Gillis right after this. So back with Shane Gillis. I should tell everybody. That was fast.
Yeah, I was
stand-up
like,
special. Nice. Shane Gillis live in Austin. It's very funny. Support him. It's free on YouTube. And, we're now at this sort of point in life where you're going to have to, if the Karens and the 100 asshole vegans on the internet are going to be essentially raising boycotts or presenting boycotts and getting guys pulled off of The Bachelor, or pulled off of SNL, or pulled off of whatever their livelihood is, the rest of the community is going to have to support them in what they do. So it's sort of the opposite of a boycott.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to have to go to YouTube and go download the special and go buy the tickets and go see the comedy shows and do it, because that's kind of where we're at now. And once we're there, by the way, and I think we've hit a little bit of a saturation point, but we're kind of there now. I feel like no more. It's now a little bit mathematically impossible to cancel somebody if they're talented, if they have ability, if they can just go, fuck it, I'll go on the road, I'll play the clubs, people will buy tickets.
Yeah, there's always that argument that the left likes to make that. Like the people that do the canceling, they love to be like, there's no such thing as cancel culture.
Right.
They love to do that.
They do.
Which really fucking annoys me.
Well, they're like, yeah, I got the guy fired from his roofing job, but he can get another job roofing.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
like,
it.
Oh, so you're doing what? You're providing what service for him and his family? It's like, I didn't fucking tackle him and prevent him from getting another job in the roofing industry. I just got him fired from his major roofing job.
Exactly.
Like,
I mean, that's, and then they're like, well, he's doing fine on Patreon, and it's like, and now you're trying to get my Patreon fucking shut
really?
down. Yeah, they're always trying to like,
it's fucking,
like, can you believe Patreon supports
the only solace is knowing these fucks are miserable. They have to be miserable fucks. They just have to be.
Definitely.
It'd be impossible to go through your life pursuing other people and trying to bring them down. In comedy, right.
Yeah, it's not like these are like, you know, undercover cops trying to bring down like murderers.
Well,
They're
also, or just someone who was in charge of policy. Like your joke somehow affected society in some meaningful way.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It always feels, I always talk to Dr. Drew about this, it always feels gross to me. Like it feels yucky.
Yeah.
Like it just feels like, ugh.
It is.
It's that if you ever beat off 3 times in one day, it's that third. It's right after the third where you just go, fuck.
What am I doing?
Fucking 4 in the afternoon. I'm still in my bathrobe. Ugh. It's just like this, like, yuck.
Yeah, that feeling going for number 3, though, is a good feeling.
Yeah.
Right when you go for number 3, that's a good.
Well, you enter with the best of intentions. Yeah. Well, I'm a little older than you. Time will catch
I
up.
don't jerk off 3 times.
No hat tricks, huh?
But that's funny. Yeah.
I don't know why it's satisfying. It's sad. I hope those people lead miserable lives. But
yeah,
what we need, we're turning the corner. I absolutely feel 3 years ago, I used to get a lot more like, hey, man, be careful what you say, or stop talking about this, or don't do that. And I always just went, I'm not talking about what I'm wanting to talk about in defiance of what these people are saying. I'm just talking about what the fuck I want to talk about. I know it's just kind of this weird thing where it's like, oh, you're a rebel now. Not a rebel.
And yeah, you don't want to be that guy. Like, you don't want to be the bad boy of comedy. It's like you never want to be that guy.
Well,
you just want to do comedy.
But it's kind of an interesting construct, which is I go about saying what I want to say, you go about saying what you want to say, and then they oppose it, and now you're a rebel. But if you don't oppose it, then I'm not a rebel.
Yeah.
I'm only a rebel because you've told me to shut up.
Yeah, but they also do us a service of making it funnier.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like if everybody was cool with everything I was saying,
yeah,
I don't know how funny I'd be.
Well, you could,
you know?
Yeah,
There's
a
part
get
of
it.
that.
Yeah, and now, people try to turn you into some folk hero status for just saying what you would have said.
Yeah, and that gets
anyway.
embarrassing. I don't like that. I'm embarrassed by that. I don't like that.
Yeah, I agree.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no, it's good, and I agree. You don't want to become a caricature who is essentially, at some point, you become a gay priest who's preaching against homosexuality, and it becomes kind of weird, and you get tangled up in it. You just want to say what you think is funny.
Sure.
And hopefully the audience will go along with you on that journey and that'll be the end of it. I don't know. It's curious to me that there's people getting in between you and the audience, or attempting to.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it's tough to. It is the furthest I can get on this is it's weird,
but
I don't know how to.
Yeah, but your attitude is great because you're not. Believe me, I can tell your attitude is great because you don't have this sort of vindictive, if only, or living in the past, or fuck these people,
if only I was
or whatever,
a fucking featured player on SNL,
whatever it is.
If only I was in a sketch once a season on SNL.
Right. In the first few years, that's how it would be for sure. So this episode sort of comes and goes. You're having to. It's a few. So it's three pieces. You've been accepted as a cast member on SNL. That's big news to everyone in mechanics.
Oh man,
right?
Yeah, this is the first time like my family could be like, "Oh, nice."
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they don't know what the fuck comedy is. So I'm like, I got just for laughs. They're like, who gives a fuck? What are you talking about?
Right.
When are you getting a job?
Right. So there's that, and then there's the shitstorm that ensues, and then there's the news that you've been canceled from SNL.
Yeah.
So that's a crazy 10 days for the family, right?
Crazy, yeah.
And then you're getting all these calls of congratulations at the beginning, and then you're getting all these calls of "Are you all right?" I'm guessing.
Yeah, there was a bunch of texts that like I didn't even have time to respond to when they were saying congratulations. That the next text was like, "Hang in there."
Oh
like,
wow!
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, but it was 4 hours.
So what do you do then? What is your mindset at that point?
I went and did stand up. And it was funny because like my agent, manager, and all that, everybody was like, just go home. Like, be alone. And I was like, that's literally the last thing I want to do is sit here and like look at my fucking phone. I'm going to go, stand-up's the only, that's the best thing. It's the best way to like not be in this. It's to publicly make fun of it and like see people actually laughing versus like I was looking at my phone, reading comments that were like, hope this guy dies, like all that, which, I was literally never affected by like a death threat or anything like that. But like when it's like fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar writing an article that you're a piece of shit.
Right.
It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh, yeah. He's written some crazy shit, that guy.
Kareem got me.
Kareem.
Yeah, all-time leading scorer. Lou Alcindor wrote an article that I sucked. And then his son stabbed a guy.
Oh, really?
So maybe he should have been parenting instead of writing an article.
Yeah, he should have. Up top. The skyhook up top. I do remember a little Kareem
I've been waiting
there.
to take a shot at Kareem for 2 years. This is it.
I support you fully. The thing about there was an article that I remember where Kareem, and you can look it up, Chris. There was like a Kareem article. The scariest part is when these guys write these kind of op-ed-y things, and they're like, they start saying shit, and they're using it as an example, and the example is something you disagree with vehemently.
Yeah.
Like they'll go, they'll go, Shane Gillis can speak his mind and then be rewarded on SNL. And so-and-so can, The Bachelor can do, or whatever. Do you want to live in that America? And I'm always like, fuck yes, I do.
Yeah, I think
yes.
that's about the America.
Yes,
that's the
I
one.
do. Like the shit you're talking about is the exact opposite of what it was. A crazy article. It was probably about 2-3 years ago, right? And he just, maybe it was a year and a half ago, and he was kind of going through all the different people. And also they have this thing too where it's like, it reminded me when I was arguing with Gloria Allred, and she was like, you don't know if this helped or hurt Michael Richards' career. This may help him, and it's like, no, it's not going to help him. You don't know that. Notoriety. It's like they do these things like being rewarded. He's being rewarded now because we're all talking about it. It's like, he's not being rewarded. He got fucking canceled.
That came with me a lot. That happened with me a lot. And it bothers the fuck out of me when there's like people that aren't good at comedy. Or like suck at comedy or just like desperate for attention. Or like, I think it's good. It's good what's happening to you.
Right.
It's like, it's not good. I don't think you understand how this, like if I sucked at comedy, this would destroy my career.
Right.
If this happened to you, it would ruin your career.
Right.
You know?
Not me, but
No,
you.
no, you,
the person who thinks
Obviously not you. Shut up.
Right. No, but that's the whole thing. Like,
It's very annoying.
If you're talentless, then the bootleg porn that came out may help you. But if you're a noted actor of and much celebrated, it's just fucking embarrassing. It's not helping at all. That article was
Sorry,
Kareem,
I just need a little more detail on
Kareem
what the article is about.
Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
Now
Put mine up there. Kareem Abdul, Shane
yeah,
Gillis.
I could
do that.
motherfucker.
He also went by Cassius Clay, but I think he wrote this later in his career. And he had another one that I didn't know if Shane was included in the one where he was talking about all these people being canceled and why it was a good thing.
After Kareem wrote that article, that one hurt.
How early on was that?
It was pretty early, I think.
Wow.
I think it was like before I got fired. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And then I got off a train in New York, and as the doors opened, it was just an ad for one of his books.
Oh,
and
really?
I was like, oh, that's why he wrote that.
Wow.
Because he's selling a book, so he stuck a knife in me.
Oh.
Like, what a fucking disgusting world.
So you didn't take a lot of downtime and drown your sorrows in vodka.
No.
You said, I'm going to go back out and do stand-up.
Yeah, I did stand up the whole time.
And you felt like, almost like somebody saying, get exercise through COVID. Like it kept you sane in that period.
For sure.
And how long before you sort of, I mean, were you able to get philosophical about it early, or did it take a while?
Yeah, I was definitely, but I like to keep that to myself. You know, I'd hate to go on a podcast and be philosophical.
No, I just mean,
yeah, no,
you put it into context.
I was able to contextualize it pretty quickly, and I was able to be like, there was never a part of me that was like, all right, I'm going to quit, or like, oh, this is the end. It was always, I always had a pretty big picture idea of what was going on. And I understood the culture that we were in comedy better than I think most people going into it. Because I'd experienced it because it always starts at like the local scene. So I'd experienced this type of like left versus right or club versus alt comedy battle in Philadelphia a year or two before I left. So I'd seen how this works and how like people act on the internet, you know, like where people you thought were your friends would be like, yeah, he also he outed a guy for sucking a trans guy's dick. And they'll just tweet that just to bury you while you're, you know.
Did they?
Wait, what are you talking about?
Was there a part of you that could be like,
I don't know.
I can almost study this through the lens of our like a sociology major, like this crazy fucking chapter we're in our society, even if it's me in the eye of the storm.
Yeah, I will say this. I definitely thought I could, which was funny because I was fucked up. Like it was like, it really,
I know.
It damages you. So like the whole time I was trying to like, it was definitely a self-defense mechanism where I was like, I'm fine. I was fucked up.
You know, the sad part of that, had this happen to me a little bit. It's like people you thought were friends. It's never a best friend, but it's like the guys you know, guys you've worked with, comedians you've supported, done things for, helped out, blah, blah, blah. Having them fucking jump on the bandwagon. It's so fucking sad. It's like, dude, no one even knows who you are. Did you really have to put that out, that
so
shitty
bad.
tweet out there? And then you think back of the time you let the guy crash on your sofa.
Yeah, you gave him a ride to a show.
Or you did some shit for him. You put him on your podcast. You did blah, blah, blah. And they got to fucking jump in with something shitty. That's the saddest part to me.
Those were the worst.
Those were the worst, right?
For sure. And that was all Philly people. That was all, because I was Philly.
Right.
So it was all the Philly comedy scene. They were the ones that were really like, I mean, there were guys that I was friends with that would like tweet out like paragraph stories of be like, here's a time he was a bully in the comedy scene.
You were like,
there's adult men going around calling other adult men bullies in fucking comedy.
Yeah, and there's
if you're 30 and you have a bully,
oh my God,
kill yourself.
But then it's like guys are like, hey, dude, I played your cancer charity benefit for fucking free 4 months ago, and you're talking shit. It's so fucking sad. Do we have that article? Sorry, Chris.
Kareem,
Well, I have the Kareem article about
Kareem taking
Shane.
a shot, that motherfucker.
So this is Hollywood Reporter, September 2019. It's titled Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shane Gillis, SNL, and the Art of the Post-Racist Rant Apology. It's tempting to open this column by repeating Shane Gillis' homophobic, anti-Asian, and misogynistic slurs that got him fired from Saturday Night Live
Already sounds funny, though.
to show just how desperately unfunny, derivative, and dripping with flop sweat they are. But their level of funniness is not the point. Comedians have the right to be unfunny sometimes, just as athletes have the right to lose games and actors to be in bad films. But when a comedian makes hate-based comments, as Gillis did on his podcast,
Right.
we do have an obligation to take a closer look to
No,
see
you don't.
whether
That's
they
the whole
are insightful provocateurs of culture and the human condition, or just another middle schooler blowing milk out of their nose for a quick laugh, not caring who they spatter with milky
I'll be
snot
honest.
in
I
the
am
process.
a middle schooler spouting milk out of my nose.
Spit take,
And
whole
that's
milk, any time, even if it's Kareem's chocolate milk, I still feel like I want that spit take.
Yeah.
And by the way, this whole thing where they go, I'm all for free speech. I'm all for free expression.
this
I'm all
time.
for the First Amendment. But you got to understand, if you want to come on this campus with your hate, now I'll just need to vet it. Like they always set the table with, hey, I got a sense of humor. This is all great. But not this guy, not now.
You know what
Not
bothered
for
me
me.
the most about that? It was when he said flop sweat. And I remember being like, this fucking pussy just like contacted another comedian. Or like he found a comedian and be like,
Right.
what's bombing like? What's the word I should use here?
Right.
While he's sitting there fucking typing
sweat.
it. Flop sweat. Oh, that's good. I'll include that.
Is there any more, Max, about it? Just 'cause it's
Yeah, there's
great.
another excerpt that I liked. The weakest of all of Shane's defenses in this case is when he's a, quote, comedian who pushes boundaries. He's right that artists push boundaries of cultural
I agree with him on
conventions.
that.
Lenny Bruce, Dick Gregory, and Richard Pryor all push boundaries. The difference between an artist and an artisan is the artist's willingness to poke at the audience's comfort level in an effort to unveil weakness, discrepancies, and hypocrisies. Not everyone appreciates having their values questioned. That's why it's important that we give artists plenty of leeway to sincerely explore their interpretation of humanity. The goal of the artist is to bring people together by showing us our similarities through our weaknesses, even when we are reluctant to acknowledge them. At the same time, we are under no obligation to financially support self-proclaimed artists like Shane Gillis,
Self-proclaimed.
whose work promotes
I
hatred.
did see his windbreaker with the rainbow tape on it that says artist, and then there's an arrow just pointing at him. Self-proclaimed. Oh, it's so I love that.
Yeah.
All right,
Fucking
that's enough.
Kareem,
Yeah, I
dude.
know.
But
Get
look,
to the article where his son stabbed a guy. You should have been parenting, Kareem. You
Well,
fucking loser.
to be fair, with that reach, it's almost
True.
impossible not to stab a guy. Like you literally pull
Just
out a
eating.
butter knife and someone gets stuck. You try to put a little schmear in a bagel, someone's going to get hurt. But look, let's look at it this way, Shane.
Sorry, that
When you
thing's
were
so
growing
fucking
up
loud.
it's all right. When you were
Yeah.
in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania, and you were 11, could you have ever dreamt of a day where Kareem Abdul-Jabbar would
trashing
pen?
you. Just trashing you in the news.
Well, let's put it to you this way. If I got hold of 11-year-old Shane Gillis, right?
Yeah.
And you're living in Mechanicsburg, and
Yeah.
I said to you, look, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, greatest NBA scorer of all time, is going to write an article about you. You'd say,
I must be an astronaut.
I'm over the moon, right?
Oh,
You go nuts, right? It's insane, right? But what if I then said, it's not going to be positive? I bet an 11-year-old Shane Gillis would have said, let's do it.
yeah, I'll take
Let's
it.
roll the dice.
Did I shoot the president? What happened?
And then
No.
you'd have to wait
You had a podcast.
another long 19 years to find out.
It was a podcast.
That would just be the greatest scenario, hypothetical ever. I just go, it's pretty negative. I can't tell you. There's no jail time. You know what I mean? You haven't hurt anybody or yourself. It's very negative, and it's penned by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
You got to take it, right?
I feel like
you have to take it.
You have to take it.
If you have to definitely include no crime. There's no crime.
Yeah, I would tell you that.
And it's just Kareem Abdul is going to write an article about you.
Right.
He's going to trash you on CNN.
I'm the ghost of Kareem future. And this is
I'll
what
take that deal.
you take it.
Would you?
Fuck yeah. And here we are.
Yeah.
And there you go. All right, I'll give you the name of the stand-up special, Shane Gillis, live in Austin. It's very funny. It's free on YouTube. I'll give you some live dates as well. You guys got to go out and support people who are being deplatformed because you cannot. First off, these people learn quickly there is no such thing as deplatforming once there's a million platforms. And that's the new world order. Live dates, Lafayette, Louisiana, Club 337. That'll be tonight and tomorrow night. Phoenix, Arizona, Rick Bronson's House of Comedy, September 30th through the October 2nd. Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the Improv, October 28th through the 31st. More dates at ShaneMGillis.com. And shoot him a tweet, Instagram at Shane M. Gillis, as well in the podcast, Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. Well, this was fun.
Yeah, I'm appreciative. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming out. I'm going to be in Solana Beach at the Belly Up this Wednesday, and then Chicago Park West in Illinois over there, the 24th, doing stand-up. Go to amcarolla.com. Uppity, my doc, is premiering on Pluto TV this Sunday, September 19th. You can watch that for free. If you like, on our Chassis channel, 687. Until next time, it's Adam Carolla for Ball Bryan, Gina Grant, Shane Gillis saying, Mahala.